All right, so you're prepping for an asbestos abatement worker interview. And wow, you really did your homework. Look at all these guides from RoleCatcher, career insights, interview questions, and even info on how their AI can help you land the job. That's pretty impressive.
You're clearly taking this seriously. That's great. Especially this asbestos abatement worker, the complete career interview guide. It's really in depth, you know?
Yeah, and you know what really stood out to me? It says here, even though asbestos use has gone down, there are still so many old buildings that need abatement.
Right.
Job stability is actually looking really good in this field. So let's dive right in. First question from the guide. What inspired you to pursue a career in asbestos abatement?
Hmm. Yeah. It seems like a simple question, right?
Right.
But they're looking for more than just a generic answer. They want to see if you've really thought about this, you know? If you have a genuine passion for it.
So think about what really sparked your interest. Was it a personal experience? Wanting to protect public health? Maybe you're fascinated by the technical side?
Yeah, exactly. It's also a chance to highlight relevant experience, even if it's not directly in asbestos abatement. Have you worked with other hazardous materials? Anything to show you understand the seriousness of this field.
And the guide even gives a sample response.
Hmm.
But don't just memorize it word for word. Use it as inspiration to craft an answer that's authentic to you.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful. It analyzes the job description, you see, and suggests keywords that align with what the employer is looking for, so you can incorporate those into your response.
That's cool, like having a personalized cheat sheet for each interview.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. What are the most common hazards associated with asbestos abatement work?
Okay, so this one seems pretty straightforward,
Hmm.
but it's not just about listing hazards. They want to see you understand the gravity of this work, the importance of safety protocols. Don't just name risks like asbestosis or lung cancer. Talk about mitigation strategies too. Personal protective equipment, worksite containment, air monitoring, all those crucial elements.
Speaking of air monitoring, the Complete Career Guide actually has a really interesting section on that. It explains how air samples are collected and analyzed to make sure asbestos fibers are below the limits. It's a good example of how this guide goes beyond the basics.
Absolutely. Now imagine they ask about a specific type of equipment, like a respirator. What are the different types used in asbestos abatement, and how do you choose the right one? Being able to answer that shows your expertise.
Yeah, that level of detail would definitely impress them. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. How do you ensure that your work meets all relevant regulations and standards?
Yes. This one's about the bigger picture.
So it's not just about following safety procedures on a specific project.
Exactly. It's about showing you're aware of local, state, and federal regulations,
Gotcha.
as well as industry best practices. Can you mention specific regulations, OSHA standards, EPA guidelines? Have you ever had to advocate for stricter safety measures? These details show your commitment to compliance.
Yeah, that makes sense. And there's actually a section in the guide about different types of asbestos surveys and inspections.
Oh, interesting.
That kind of knowledge would be really valuable here.
Mm.
Okay, this next one seems a bit challenging. How do you handle unexpected challenges that may arise during an asbestos abatement project?
This is where they're testing your problem-solving skills
Yeah.
and your ability to adapt under pressure.
Right.
Think about your experience. Have you ever encountered hidden asbestos, a weather delay, equipment malfunction? How did you assess the risks, adapt, and communicate with your team?
So it's not about having a perfect solution for every scenario, but about thinking on your feet and staying calm.
You got it. And RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these tough questions. Record yourself and get feedback so you sound more confident and composed.
That's amazing. Okay, here's another one. Can you describe your experience working with hazardous materials other than asbestos?
This is a great chance to show your versatility, even if you've specialized in asbestos. Highlighting experience with lead paint, mold, other hazardous substances, it shows a wider understanding of safety.
This career path really requires a well-rounded skill set. It's not just about asbestos, it's about hazardous materials in general.
You're absolutely right. Think back to your previous roles or training. What other materials did you encounter? What safety procedures were involved? How did those experiences contribute to your understanding of hazard management?
Okay, let's move on to a practical one. How do you ensure that your work is completed on time and on budget?
All right, so this one might seem straightforward,
Right.
but it's a chance to show your project management skills. They want to see that you can handle the technical aspects of abatement, but also the logistics, managing resources, and timelines.
So even if I haven't had a formal project management role, I can still talk about my experiences with prioritizing tasks, delegating, troubleshooting.
Absolutely. Specific examples are always better than vague statements. Did you develop a system for tracking progress? Find a creative way to save costs without compromising safety. Those details show initiative.
And I'm guessing RoleCatcher's AI can help me tailor my response here to highlight the project management skills that are most relevant to the job.
You got it. Now, this next one can be a bit daunting. Can you describe your experience working in hazardous environments?
Ooh, yeah. I can see how that one might make people nervous.
It's not just about knowing safety procedures. It's about conveying your ability to stay calm and focused, even in challenging conditions. Think back to your experience. Have you worked in confined spaces? At heights? Extreme temperatures? What strategies did you use to manage stress and stay safe?
It's important to address the mental and emotional demands too, right?
Absolutely. This is your chance to show your resilience, attention to detail, and your commitment to safety, even when things get tough.
Okay, we're making great progress here. Let's talk about communication. This next question asks, how do you communicate with clients and other stakeholders during an asbestos abatement project?
This one highlights interpersonal skills. Asbestos abatement involves working with all sorts of people. Building owners, tenants, contractors, regulatory agencies, they all have their own priorities and concerns.
So it's not just about being a good talker, it's about listening to, understanding different perspectives, adapting your communication style.
Exactly. Think about times you had to explain technical stuff to non-experts, negotiate timelines with contractors, address concerns from residents. Those situations show how you communicate and navigate complex dynamics.
Effective communication is crucial for a smooth project and for maintaining a safe and collaborative environment.
You're right. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze your communication style. During practice interviews, giving feedback on clarity, conciseness, and tone.
Wow, that's incredibly helpful. Okay, let's switch gears to career progression. The guide outlines several potential advancement paths.
It's good to start thinking about your long-term goals early on. Have you considered supervisory roles, project management, health and safety consulting?
I'm definitely interested in those. The guide mentions continuous learning is key for advancement. Conferences, certifications, staying up to date on regulations, it all shows commitment.
Exactly. Interviewers love to see that, a candidate who's passionate and invested.
All right, before we wrap up, let's talk about salary expectations. How do you approach that conversation without underselling yourself or seeming too demanding?
That's a great question. The key is preparation. Before the interview, research the average salary range for asbestos abatement workers in your area. Consider your experience and certifications.
There are websites and resources for that.
Oh, absolutely. Sites like salary.com and Glassdoor are helpful. And remember, RoleCatcher can offer tailored salary expectations based on specific roles and locations. But it's not just about knowing the numbers, it's about framing the conversation right to reflect your value.
So instead of just saying a number, what's a better approach?
You could say something like, based on my experience and qualifications, I'm targeting a salary in the range of come. That shows you've done your homework. Be prepared to discuss your contributions, what you bring to the table. Highlight your achievements, your safety record, your efficiency on past projects.
It's about showcasing your strengths without bragging.
Exactly. And if the offer's below your expectations, don't be afraid to negotiate. Respectfully and professionally, of course. Focus on the value you bring and your desire to find an agreement that works for both sides. Now, let's get back to those interview questions. We've covered some big ones, but there are a few more worth exploring.
This one caught my eye. What steps would you take to ensure the safety of other workers on an asbestos abatement project? It seems to go beyond just personal safety.
Yes, it's about leadership and teamwork. They're looking for someone who understands that safety is everyone's responsibility. Think about how you would create a culture of safety on the job site.
So it's not just about following the rules.
Right. It's about going above and beyond. Would you encourage open communication about potential hazards? Regular safety briefings? Would you be proactive in identifying and addressing risks, even if they're not obvious? Those are the qualities of a leader who prioritizes the well-being of the whole team.
Makes sense. Now, this next one is about staying calm under pressure. Describe a time when you had to make a difficult decision on an asbestos abatement project. What was the situation, and how did you handle it?
A classic behavioral interview question. They want to see your judgment, problem-solving skills, ability to make tough calls, all while prioritizing safety. Think back to your experience. Have you ever had to change the original plan?
Like finding more asbestos than expected. Or bad weather forcing a change in procedures.
Exactly. How did you assess the risks and potential consequences? How did you communicate your decision to everyone? They're not looking for a perfect solution, but a thoughtful approach that puts safety first.
It's about showing you can think clearly under pressure. Okay, here's a more technical one. Describe the different methods for removing asbestos. How do you choose the most appropriate method for a particular project?
This is where your technical knowledge shines. They want to see you understand the different abatement methods, and that you can tailor your approach. Before the interview, familiarize yourself with enclosure, encapsulation, and removal techniques. Know the pros and cons of each, and when to use them.
The Complete Career Guide has a really detailed breakdown of these methods, even with diagrams and illustrations.
That's great. Be prepared to explain your decision-making process, too. How do you assess the condition of the asbestos, the location, the potential for exposure? All these factors matter.
It sounds like a mix of knowledge, experience, and judgment.
You got it. Now let's talk about something that's often overlooked in interview prep: body language. Did you know RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your body language during those video practice interviews?
Wait, really? That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. It picks up on things like eye contact, posture, hand gestures. These nonverbal cues can convey confidence, engagement, even nervousness.
So what kind of feedback does it give? Like if I'm fidgeting too much?
It might suggest maintaining eye contact to project confidence, or using hand gestures to emphasize points, maybe even adjusting your posture to appear more relaxed. It's like having a personal image consultant.
Wow, that takes the guesswork out of those virtual interviews.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the questions. This one's about teamwork. Describe a time when you had to work as part of a team to complete a challenging asbestos abatement project. What was your role, and how did you contribute to the team's success?
Teamwork is essential in this field. It's not a solo job. They want to see that you can collaborate and communicate effectively. Think about a project where you had to rely on others. Did you coordinate with other trades, delegate tasks, offer support? How did your skills complement your teammates?
It's about understanding your role and working together towards a common goal.
Exactly. And it's not about bragging, it's about showcasing your teamwork skills. Now let's shift to professional development. What steps do you take to stay informed about changes in asbestos abatement regulations and best practices?
RoleCatcher's AI can be really helpful here, right? Alerting you to updates and regulations or industry news.
Absolutely. Staying current is crucial, and the AI can help you stay ahead. But it's also important to be proactive. Do you subscribe to industry publications? Attend conferences, webinars, participate in online forums or professional organizations?
Showing that initiative is important.
Exactly. And how do you use that knowledge in your work? Do you share insights with colleagues? Advocate for safety improvements? These actions show your commitment to continuous improvement.
It's about being a lifelong learner. Okay, let's tackle a question that often comes up towards the end. Do you have any questions for us?
Ah, yes. This is your chance to turn the tables. But it's not just about asking questions for the sake of it. It's about showing genuine interest in the company and gathering information to make an informed decision. Before the interview, research the company and the role. What are their values? What kind of projects do they handle? What's their safety record like?
So you can ask more targeted and insightful questions.
Exactly. You could ask about professional development opportunities, their approach to mentoring new hires, their perspective on the future of the industry. Remember, the interview is a two-way street.
That's a great point. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, let's touch on references. How do you choose the right ones and prepare them to speak on your behalf effectively?
Choosing the right references can make a big difference. Ideally, they're people who can speak directly to your skills and experience as an asbestos abatement worker. Think about supervisors from past projects who can attest to your technical abilities, work ethic, and commitment to safety.
What about colleagues or mentors? Could they be good references too?
Absolutely. If you've worked closely with colleagues on abatement projects, they can talk about your teamwork, communication, problem solving. Mentors can also be great, especially if they've played a role in your development.
So it's about choosing people who can provide a well-rounded view.
Precisely. Once you've identified them, it's important to prepare them. Give them your updated resume. Let them know about the job you're applying for. Highlight the key skills and experiences you want them to emphasize.
So they have the information they need to be effective advocates.
Exactly. You could even role-play a few potential questions they might get asked. That'll help them feel more prepared and confident.
Like a mini interview prep for your references.
Exactly. Now, beyond preparing your references, There are a few other things you can do to boost your chances. First impressions matter, so dress professionally, even for a virtual interview.
Like an in-person interview, right?
Absolutely. You want to project confidence. Find a quiet, well-lit space where you won't be interrupted. Make sure your background is tidy and free of distractions.
Create a positive and focused environment.
And don't forget to follow up afterwards. Send a thank you note to the interviewer. Reiterate your interest and highlight a key point from the conversation.
That's a good way to stand out.
Remember, every step is a chance to showcase your professionalism, your passion for the field, your commitment to safety.
This deep dive has been really helpful. I feel much more prepared for those interview questions.
Glad to hear it. Preparation is key. Use the resources you have, including RoleCatcher's AI tools, to refine your responses and project confidence.
I'm ready to make a great impression. Good luck with your interview. You've got this.
Best of luck. I'm sure you'll do great. You know, one thing I'm curious about, we talked about all these technical aspects of asbestos abatement, safety procedures, regulations, all that. But what about the human side of it? How do you think this work impacts the workers themselves long term? Something to ponder.
That's a great question. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you in the next deep dive.
So the key to discussing salary is preparation. Before the interview, you got to research the average salary range for asbestos abatement workers in your area. Take into account your experience level and certifications.
There are websites and resources to help with that research, right?
Absolutely. Sites like Salary.com and Glassdoor can give you some insights. And remember, RoleCatcher can offer tailored salary expectations based on the specific job roles and locations. But it's not just about knowing the numbers, it's also about framing the conversation, right? To show your worth.
So instead of just throwing out a number, what's a better way to handle that?
You could say something like, based on my experience and qualifications, I'm aiming for a salary in the range of. That shows you've done your homework and you have a good understanding of the market. Be ready to discuss your contributions, what you bring to the table. Highlight your achievements, your safety record, and how efficient you've been on past projects.
It's about showing your strengths, but not sounding like you're bragging.
Exactly. And if the offered salary is lower than you expected, don't be afraid to negotiate. But do it respectfully and professionally. Focus on what you bring to the table and your goal of finding an agreement that benefits both sides. Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. We've talked about some of the main ones, but there are a few more we should look at.
This one caught my attention. What steps would you take to ensure the safety of other workers on an asbestos abatement project? It seems to be about more than just your own safety.
Right. It's about leadership and teamwork. They want someone who knows that safety is everyone's responsibility. Think about how you'd create a culture of safety on the job site.
So it's more than just following the rules.
Exactly. Would you encourage everyone to talk openly about potential dangers? Would you have regular safety meetings? Would you be proactive in finding and dealing with potential risks, even if they're not obvious? Those are the actions of a leader who cares about the well-being of the entire team.
That makes sense. It's about creating a proactive mindset about safety. Okay. This next one is all about staying calm when things get tough. Describe a time you had to make a tough decision on an asbestos abatement project. What happened and how did you deal with it?
That's a classic behavioral interview question.
Yep.
They want to see your judgment, problem-solving skills, and how you make decisions under pressure while keeping safety in mind. Go back to your own experiences. Have you ever been in a situation where the original plan had to be changed?
Maybe you found more asbestos than you expected, or there was bad weather and you had to change the containment procedures.
Right. How did you figure out the risks and the possible outcomes of different choices? How did you tell your team and the people involved about your decision? They're not expecting a perfect answer, just a well-thought-out approach that puts safety first.
So you need to show you can think clearly even when things are stressful. Okay, here's a question that's a bit more technical. Describe the different methods for removing asbestos. How would you decide which one is best for a specific project?
This is where you show off your technical knowledge. The interviewer wants to see that you understand the differences between the ways to remove asbestos and that you can choose the right method. So before the interview, make sure you're familiar with enclosure, encapsulation, and removal techniques. You need to understand the pros and cons of each method and when each one would be the best choice.
I see there's a detailed explanation of these methods in the complete career guide. It even has diagrams and illustrations which are helpful for understanding the process.
That's perfect. Be ready to talk about how you make decisions too. What's the condition of the asbestos? Where is it? How likely is it that people will be exposed to it? These are all things you need to consider when choosing the right way to do the job.
So it sounds like you need technical knowledge, experience, and good judgment all combined.
Exactly, right? Now let's talk about something people don't always focus on when they're getting ready for interviews: body language. Did you know that RoleCatcher's AI can actually look at how you use your body during those practice interviews you do online?
Wait, really? That's pretty cool. I didn't know technology was that advanced.
It's amazing. The AI can see things like how much eye contact you make, your posture, and your hand gestures. These nonverbal cues can show if you're confident, engaged, or even nervous. Being aware of these things can make a big difference in how the interviewer sees you.
What kind of feedback does it give? Does it say if I'm fidgeting too much?
It might suggest keeping good eye contact to show confidence, or using your hands when you talk to make your points stronger. It might even tell you to change your posture so you look more relaxed and approachable. It's like having your own personal coach for how you present yourself.
That's really helpful. It takes away some of the stress of doing interviews online. Okay, let's get back to the questions. This one is all about working as a team. Tell me about a time when you had to work with a team to finish a challenging asbestos abatement project. What was your role, and how did you help the team succeed?
Teamwork is super important in asbestos abatement. You can't do it alone. They want to see that you can work well with others, communicate clearly, and help everyone reach the same goal. Think about a project where you had to depend on other people to get the job done. Did you work with people from other trades? Did you give people tasks to do? Did you offer to help your teammates? How did your skills and your teammates' skills work together?
It's about knowing your place on the team and working together to get things done.
That's right. And remember, it's not about bragging or taking all the credit. It's about showing you can be part of a team and help everyone succeed. Now let's switch gears and talk about professional development. What do you do to stay updated on changes in asbestos abatement regulations and best practices?
RoleCatcher's AI is really helpful for this too, right?
Yeah.
It can tell you about any changes in regulations or news in the industry that you need to know about for your job search.
Absolutely. Staying up to date is really important, and the AI can help you stay ahead of the game. But you also need to be proactive in looking for information yourself. Do you read industry magazines? Do you go to conferences or webinars? Do you participate in online forums or belong to professional organizations?
Showing that you're taking initiative is important.
Yes. And how do you use that knowledge in your work? Do you share what you learn with your coworkers? Do you suggest ways to improve safety procedures? Doing those things shows you're always trying to get better.
So it's about always learning and helping the field move forward.
Sure.
Okay, let's look at a question you often get at the end of an interview. Do you have any questions for us? This is your chance to ask them some questions, right?
It is. It's more than just asking a question to be polite. It's about showing that you're really interested in the company and finding out things to help you make a decision. Before you go to the interview, do some research on the company and the job. What are their values? What kind of projects do they usually work on? What's their safety record like?
So if you know those things, you can ask better, more specific questions.
Exactly. You can ask about chances to grow professionally, how they help new employees, or what they think about the future of the industry. Remember, the interview is like a two-way street. You're learning about them and they're learning about you.
That's a good reminder. Now, before we finish this part of our deep dive, let's talk about references. How do you decide who to ask to be a reference, and how do you get them ready to talk about you in a good way?
Choosing the right people to be your references can really help you get the job. So when you're picking references, the best people are those who can really talk about your skills and experience specifically as an asbestos abatement worker. Like supervisors you've had on projects who can tell them about your technical skills, your work ethic, how much you care about safety.
Gotcha. Okay. But what about people I've worked with? Like colleagues or mentors? Would they be good choices too?
Yeah, for sure. If you've worked closely with colleagues on abatement projects, they can give insights into your teamwork, your communication skills, and how you solve problems. And mentors, those can be great references too, especially if they've helped you grow professionally.
Right. So it's about finding people who can show all the different sides of what I can do.
Exactly. Once you've figured out who you want to ask, it's super important to get them ready. Tell them about the specific job you're going for and point out the most important skills and experiences you want them to talk about.
Makes sense. Give them all the info they need so they can really help you out.
Yeah. You could even practice some interview questions with them, like a little role playing. That way, they'll be more confident and prepared when the hiring manager calls.
Oh, that's a good idea. A mini interview prep for my references.
Yep. Now, besides getting your references ready, there are a few more things you can do to up your game. Remember, first impressions are huge. So even if it's a virtual interview dressed professionally.
Yeah, I've heard that it's basically the same as an in-person interview. You gotta look the part.
Exactly. You want to look and feel confident. So find a quiet spot with good lighting where you won't be bothered. Make sure the background is clean and there's nothing distracting.
Create a good environment.
And don't forget to follow up after the interview. Send a thank you note to the interviewer, saying you're still interested in the job, and maybe mention something specific you talked about.
Right, so they remember you.
Exactly. Remember, every part of the interview process is a chance for you to show them how professional you are, how much you care about this kind of work, and how committed you are to safety.
This deep dive has been so helpful. I feel like I can handle those interview questions now and show them I'm the right person for the job.
That's great to hear. Remember, preparation is key. Use all the resources you have, including those AI tools from RoleCatcher, to make your answers even better and really show you're confident.
I'm ready to go in there and impress them. Good luck with your interview. You got this.
Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm sure you'll do great. You know, thinking about all this preparation and what we've discussed today, it makes me wonder, what advice would you give to someone just starting out in this field? What's the one thing they should focus on first?
That's a good question to think about. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.